Hello, Safe Harbor Yogis. It's great to be with you again this week. Today we're going to be looking into the concept of strength, whether that be physical, mental, or what have you. So we're going to go through a practice today, mostly meditation, but some stretches within the chair. If you are on a mat on the floor, I will cue to that also. So pay attention to that. Otherwise, let's get started. So I'm going to make my way back to my chair. If we do have any newbies in the room here who have not practiced with me before, again, you can feel free to just take this little tiny tutorial as far as what we're doing with the chairs. So whenever I say that we're in a relaxed position, that means that our back is against the back of the chair. And in most cases, if you're on the ground, that means you're laying down also. So your whole back of your body is touching the ground. So same concept, but seated. Our feet will be about hip width distance apart from each other. And we'll plant our feet right on the ground here. So we'll make sure that we have our feet in that flat position. That helps to ground ourselves. So that's something that we are looking for here. So again, feet are here at that 90-degree angle. Relax is sitting back. If I tell you to use your own posture or anytime we're doing any other poses, we're just going to simply scoot forward a few inches on the chair, again, in a very safe way by all means, so we do not tip. But again, just moving forward a small bit, just enough that you can have a couple of inches behind you instead of using the back of the chair for the support. You actually would be using your own spine and your own posture. So that's what we're looking for there. Whenever I mention about folding, so folding is a big thing in yoga, and no, that does not mean about your clothing. What it would be is that we'd simply be bending forward or hinging forward is a lot of the time, because we'll go right from our hips and just move the top of our torso down toward our legs. So that'll be ultimately where we're going with that. Mostly everything else you'll be able to follow along with. Jasper, my lovely loyal dog, is with us as well. If you haven't met him, I promise, hopefully he'll be fairly quiet for us. But he will also be joining us today. So from wherever we are, if we're on our mat, if we're on our chair, feel free to get comfy. So sit back or lay down. And with the eyes open, just bring your gaze down to the ground. So we're starting to just soften that gaze. Now you have two options. You can either stay as you are with your gaze at the floor, or I encourage you to feel free to go ahead and close your eyes. Again, that helps us to all go inward a little bit more, that we're not paying attention to outside distractions, and that even when we take one sense away, the other senses become a little bit more diligent. So let's see what we can do here, but either keep your gaze low if you're not comfortable closing your eyes, or close the eyes. Now, as we do that, we're going to take a deep, deep breath in through the nose, and then we're going to exhale it out the mouth and sigh. If you feel like a noise needs to come out with that, feel free to do so. I'm a recording right now, so I cannot hear you do it, but I'm sure the rest of your colleagues and teammates over there with you will be we'll be excited to be able to hear some noise. So feel free to do so. But let's take that deep breath in through the nose first to start. Fill the belly, fill the chest, and on your exhale, exhale through the mouth. Just letting go of any tension, anything that you've built up. So let's just do a quick scan of our bodies while we're totally and completely still, which is something that doesn't happen all that often. We're always moving, thinking, doing things. Again, this is time for you to slow down and to be able to just come back to being a human being, to being yourself. So again, just feel free to take advantage of that. So staying still here, I want us to scan in our minds with our eyes closed or our gaze at the floor. What I want us to do is scan from the top of our head all the way down to our toes. So just literally picturing that part of your body. And if you feel tension there, let it go. So starting at the top of the head here, Work your way down your face. Make sure you're not closing your eyes too tightly or holding too strong of a gaze if your eyes are still open. Let go of clenching your jaw. I know that's my issue 98% of the time. So unclench the jaw. Let go of any tension in the neck. Maybe just let the chin drop to the chest. Let your shoulders fall down onto your back. Let any strength in your torso that you were using just dissipate, since we're not using any strength in this pose. We're just simply sitting. And pay attention to your hands, your arms. Just answer to yourself whatever sensation there is there, and just name it, acknowledge it, and let it go. And then feel all the way down to your toes, down to your feet. What are some of the things you're feeling there? Do you feel tingling, warmth, air moving, if there's air circulating in the building you're in? Again, finding anything to connect with. Now place one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And what I want you to do is just breathe normally here. Your eyes can stay closed or gaze can be at the floor. You're not missing anything by looking at me right now. I'm just doing the same thing you are. And right now, connect with your own breath. Notice the miracle of your body doing that for you. And notice your heartbeat. Notice that they're connected to each other. That our bodies do these miraculous, crazy things every moment of every day. And we just may take it for granted sometimes. So taking a moment to be grateful for that heartbeat, grateful for the breathing and the movement in our lungs. And then we're just going to release our arms from where they are. Just let them hang by your sides if you're able. Otherwise, you can rest them on armrests. And if you're on the mat, just continue to lay down. Just moving some gentle ways here. We're going to keep our right hand dropped down toward the ground. Reach your left arm high above you. Spin your pinky in toward your face, so your palm is almost trying to face behind you. That'll help open up this shoulder and open your chest. So we're giving ourselves as much space as we can. So do that little twist, that little wave with your hands. And then go ahead and let that right arm drop nice and heavy. Reach over toward the right side. So you can see I'm not making too much movement here. I'm not even really using my own posture. I'm still against the back of the chair. Those of you who are on the ground, feel free to sit up to do this one. And then we're going to come back down to the middle. Let the left hand drop, right arm rises, stretch over to the left. Give yourself that feeling in the side of your right body here. Holding it for one more breath. Then we're going to swap sides and go a little bit more quickly, but with our own breath and time. So let's come back to the center here. Let both arms hang. Let your feet be on the ground. This time we're going to sit away from the back of our chair just that tiny bit, so we have that little bit of space behind us. We're all being safe and not tipping over in our chairs. So keeping your feet planted. This time we're going to do that same thing. So drop the right arm heavy below you here. Reach that left arm up into the sky. Spin your pinky in toward yourself. Palm is almost facing backward. And then go ahead and stretch over to the right. Find that difference in your body. When you're not using the chair, you might find more of a stretch here because you have that option. Inhale and come back up into center. Drop the left arm down, right arm rises. Spin that pinky back toward the back of the room. Come back into center, let arms go down. Now we're going to go with our own breath here. But we're going to do a little bit more of what's called pranayama, which in yogic terms just means breath work. So in this breath work that we'll be doing, we will count to three on each of our breaths. So it'll be a 3 count to inhale and a 3 count to exhale. Okay, so let's drop that right arm down heavy, reach high with the left, spin that pinky back toward the back of the room. And then we're going to take a big inhale here for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, do that stretch over to the right for 1, 2, 3 on that exhale. Inhale, come back to center, switch the hands. Breathe in as you stretch up. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3 as we hold it. Drop that hand back down. Once again, we're going to be at stillness. Count 1, 2, 3. Reach the left arm up high, stretch over to the right. Come back to center. Let yourself exhale. 1, 2, 3. Inhale, arm goes up on the right. Stretch over to the left. 1, 2, and 3. Coming back into the middle here. So now going into some stretches with the kind of bottom half of our body here, even though we are in chairs, it is still possible. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to kind of just play around with the bottom half of our body because our seat is obviously going to be planted. So those of you in chairs, or rather on mats, you can feel free to sit up and just do the same things with your legs. Okay. So from here, we're going to kick our left leg out in front of us. Okay. We're going to make it as even with the ground as we can. For this one, I'd like you to try to sit tall, but if that's too much, feel free to lean back into your chair. So those of you on the ground, just extend that left leg long in front of you while you're sitting up, and you can keep the right knee bent. From here, at this angle we're at, we're just going to do a couple pulses with that leg. So go up and down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bend back into that leg. Same thing, opposite side here, guys. Keep the foot of the left foot planted and go ahead and kick that right leg out. We're going to do some pulses here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go ahead and release that foot back down. Excellent job. So from where we are in our seats now, we're going to go through one of those forward folds that I was speaking of. So what I'd like you to do is use some guides. Use your hands here. Make the letter L with your pointer fingers and thumbs. Bring them right to your hip bones. So right where you know that hip crease is. So whenever you bend forward, you know where that bend comes from. So I just want us to have that reminder right at our hips as we're doing this, that that's where we're hinging from. So we're not really just moving the top half of our body and scrunching down. We're really moving our way from our fingertips all the way up to the top of our head in one straight line. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in first. Exhale and let yourself hinge forward toward your legs. Now, once you hit that point where your body says, nope, I'm not going any further than this today, you can release your hands from where they are. You have the option of stacking your forearms on your legs and just leaning yourself forward that way. If that's too much still, feel free to bring hands down and you can just kind of put whatever pressure into your hands that you wish. Or if you're feeling super flexible today and able to do it, you can bring your feet a tiny bit wider than your hips and then just simply give yourself that fold all the way down, letting the chest lay on the legs. And in that case, you can also let the head go. So finding whichever version of this pose that's in your body today, in your own practice, because every single body and person are different. So find your version and hold it here for just a few moments. We're going to take 5 breaths in our own time, in through the nose and out through the nose if you can, please. About 2 breaths left.
And I want this to be slow and controlled. So if you are folded all the way down and letting the head hang and the arms hang, come up nice and slowly to prevent any dizziness along the way. But simply maybe bring one hand up to a knee, the other, and slowly sit yourself all the way back up. Wiggle out anything you need to. Again, let go of any lightheadedness. Be aware that that can happen. And then we're going to come back into a resting pose in our seat. So now that we moved a little bit, we're just going to bring ourselves back because there is a concept in yoga. There's a specific pose called child's pose, and that's what's known as a resting pose within yoga. So we're kind of just going to use this sitting back in our chair or laying down on our mat as our go-to instead, just because that pose we can't really replicate quite as easily in the chair. So please go ahead and get to your spot. Close your eyes once more. So we're bringing that gaze inward, letting go of any distractions around us. Jasper. Sorry, wanted him to stop making noise. So I wanted to really delve into the concept of strength today. So as we just had Mother's Day this past weekend, that's always an odd holiday for me personally, just to share a little bit about myself, because I just always talk to you through camera. My mom had actually passed a few years back due to suicide. And so Mother's Day is a tough one for me just because I of course think of her and think of her fondly. So it's a really tough thing for individuals who have lost their moms. And I found that the thing that I was really going into was strength and courage to move forward, um, and not just dwelling in that grief. Um, so I kind of honed into this over the weekend, and found a little bit of solace there. But strength can mean so many different things. Again, to be a parent in general is strength. To simply get out of bed each day is strength. To keep our minds moving and actually thinking productive thoughts, that takes strength. So one thing that I wanted to share here now, it was an unknown author here, but they had said, healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. So let that sink in for a second. Again, it's healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our lives. How powerful is that? Again, just thinking in our own minds that we don't have to put ourselves through hell and back. Healing is a journey. It's not something that you just wake up and the next day you go, whoop, I'm healed. Okay, I'm good. But healing is this journey, this internal struggle that we need to face every day. That we need to know that we have the strength, we have the willpower, we have the ability within us to stay strong and stay on this path of healing. And that we don't need to let our pasts control us. That we're able to start anew every single day. And that's kind of the beauty of being human. Again, we have this ability to correct ourselves, to do better for ourselves. So really keeping that in mind, that our struggle, our story in our lives, that is our story. Own it. Please own it. But don't let it control you past a certain point. You have your time to grieve, to dwell, to get into the oh, woe is me mode, which all of us get into. But simply knowing that your story brought you to this place for a reason. And at this point, you just need the strength in yourself to keep moving forward instead of looking back. So know where you came from. Don't let it escape you entirely, but give yourself that pen and paper to rewrite what your future is going to look like. So from here in our stillness, with our eyes possibly closed or our gaze at the floor, coming into some additional stretches here. But let's first breathe. So let's take one big breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, just like we did before, and make that sigh come out. See if that sigh feels any different. Breathe in, sigh it out through the mouth. Take a moment before we move just to notice any differences in the body already. And then if you're in your seat in a chair, feel free to sit that couple inches forward to use our posture. Those of you on the ground can sit up in whatever comfortable position is best for you for this moment. Again, I personally would prefer something like crisscross applesauce with your legs, with your knees out heavy and wide. So for most in the chair though, plant your feet on the ground, hip width distance. And we worked on the side body a little bit. Now we're going to work on twisting. Just picturing almost the inside of our bodies or the outside of our bodies, even at that, as a washcloth that you're just wringing out here. So removing any toxins from the body is helpful with twisting. So that's a big thing that's known. Because it actually, if you picture it, it literally does that same thing with our bodies. Gross, right? But still it works. So if you have arms on your chair, feel free to use those as leverage. Otherwise, use the back of your chair. Those of you on the ground, you can just simply move the hand that we're going to be putting in behind us to the mat beneath your tailbone, basically, or a little further back. So let's take an inhale first before we move. On our exhale, we're going to twist to the left. So just twist the torso so the bottom half of your body is staying exactly the same. You can use an armrest that's near you, or you can do a little look back with that arm. And if you can hook it onto the back of the chair or grab the back of the chair, that's fine. Otherwise, just simply turning and twisting in the direction to the left will do the job. So holding that here, feeling any difference in your breath as we twist. Then swapping sides. So those of you on the ground, bring your right hand behind you, left hand in front. Those of you twisting, go ahead and bring your right arm behind you. Left hand can come to the lap. And we're just going to twist over to the opposite side, to the right. Breathing here. And then coming back into center, into stillness. We're going to work a little bit on the neck. So from where we're at here now, let's drop our left ear to our left shoulder, chin to chest, right ear to right shoulder. Come all the way back with that head. Do a few full circles here in that direction. And when you feel like you've spun enough here, go ahead and change that direction to the opposite side. So dropping the right ear to the right shoulder, chin to chest, left ear to left, and so on and so forth. So do as many of those rolls as you feel like you need. And then take a moment and then come back to seated, back to stillness. We're going to this time keep our left hand in our lap. Right arm is going to reach up high, but just to come to our left ear. So we're going to go ahead and bring our arm over top of our head. Left hand, or right hand rather, comes to our left ear. We're just going to use that hand as a gentle weight. Again, never forcing anything in yoga, but just giving ourselves that little assist as far as we can. So use that hand as a gentle weight. Let that right ear come down to your right shoulder gently. Feel that stretch in the left side of the neck. Hold it for one more breath, inhaling here and exhaling as you release the pose. So let go of the arm, let go of the head. Same thing, opposite side, right palm stays on our laps. Go ahead and reach the left arm up above over toward our right ear here, and drop the left ear toward the left shoulder, using that hand as a gentle weight. Breathing here, 2 big breaths, guys. And once you're ready, release that hand back down. Go ahead and shake your head yes and no. Let go of any tension there. Beautiful. And then from where we're at, we're going to stretch a little bit more as far as some forward folds go. So instead of letting our legs hover in the air, this time we're just going to let it go down to the ground. So those of you who are seated, you can do this exact same thing by just bringing the sole of the foot that we're not moving, or the leg that we're not extending rather, to the inner part of your thigh. So that's the best way I could really demonstrate without being on my mat next to me. But bringing the sole of that foot to the inner thigh, okay? And then folding forward over that leg. So we're going to do the same thing while seated, like I said. So I'm going to extend my right leg long in front of me. I'm going to plant into that left foot. Again, safely move to a spot on the chair where I can bend forward and know I'm not going to go toppling and tipping over rather. So we're going to extend this leg long. You can feel free to put a little bend in it. That's perfectly fine. And I'm going to go from the side here just so you can see where I'm going with this. So my heel on my right foot is on the ground. So I'm flexing my toes toward my face, which means I'm moving my toenail side of my toes toward me right now. So from there, we're going to find that same hinging. So make the letter L's with your hands, bring them to that hip crease, and that's where we're going to fold from. So we're going to just hinge from there, go as far as you can comfortably go. And then what I'd like you to do is walk those hands down the right leg. So walking them down as far as they'll go, if that's the shin, if that's wherever. And again, being cognizant of our chair and that we don't want to tip over. So that's a rule I will always give us because I do not want that to happen to anyone. But simply finding that stretch on that right side here, feeling it into your hamstring a little bit as we straighten that leg and flex our toes back toward us. If you're comfortable with it, feel free to let the chin drop to the chest and the top of your head kind of face down toward those toes. Breathing here. If you could feel like you can let go a little bit more, feel free to release through the lower back. Maybe see if there's some additional space there. Maybe doing that scan all the way from the top of your head down to your feet, and notice any sensations and let go of any extra tension that's not the stretch itself. Now, just as we walked our hands down our leg, let's walk them back up. So walk them back up to seated. Those of you on the ground, same switch. We're just going to switch legs here. I'm going to turn this way so I can still see what I'm doing. So go ahead and extend that left leg long this time. Again, on the floor, everyone, your right sole of your foot is into your inner left thigh. Those of you in chairs, we're planting into that foot just at hip width distance on the right side and extending the left leg long. Toes are coming back toward our bodies. Make those L shapes with the hands, bring them to your hips. Take an inhale. And then exhale and fold forward over the left leg. So walk the hands down the shin, down the knee, wherever you can get to. And then from there, if you wish to have the head drop heavy, let that happen. And again, be cognizant of where you are in space and time and in that chair. So breathing here. 2 big giant breaths. Then slowly, when you are ready, go ahead and walk those hands back up toward the body. We're going to stretch our arms really high over the head this time. This time I want us to go ahead and interlace our fingers. If you have any shoulder issues, feel free to back out of this one or just simply keep that stretch instead of interlacing. We're going to press our palms toward the sky if we have those interlaced fingers and stretch all the way from your seat, all the way through your torso, through the top of your head, through those hands pressing to the ceiling. Feel that stretch. Let yourself gain some length in your torso. And similarly to what we had done before, let's go ahead and lean over to the right. So we're just going to give a little lean right from the torso and the arms, or I should say from the torso up to the arms. Then come back to the middle, lean over to the left, come back to the middle. This time, if you want to bring your gaze up toward the ceiling, you can do that. Stretch over to the right, look up toward the left side of the room. Come back to the middle, lean to the left, look up to the right side of the room. Come back to center. Slowly release those hands. Just let them fall down. Let that circulation come back in as we kind of inverted our arms. It might give you that same feeling of when you were in elementary school and raising your hands and it was taking forever and your arms are falling asleep. So let that feeling kind of come back. You may feel some coldness, some tingling in the limbs. That is normal. Don't worry, you're not alone. All right, so from here, coming into a few last little stretches. So what we're going to do now, those of you who all right, guys, sorry about that disruption. I had a message that came up on my phone and then it just shut off the video. So I'm going to try to splice this together the best I can for you. But yeah, sorry for that interruption. Jasper apologizes too. So for the rest of what we're going to do here, now that we are back into our stretches, we're going to go ahead and cross one ankle over one knee and then kind of stretch into that, getting into the hips a little bit. So just so we can have that full body action, we got into the arms, into the chest, into the back, into the hamstrings and legs, the neck and the shoulders. So let's work the hips a little bit. So again, sitting slightly forward in the chair, we're going to cross our right ankle over our left knee first. So you can see this knee, the closer it is up toward my chest, the easier the stretch is. The more that I move this knee down toward the ground, that would be where we're finding some more tension and some tightness in a lot of cases. So those of you on the ground, you can just lay down with your soles of your feet on the ground, like with your knees bent, and then just cross this right ankle over the left knee too. So that's the variation up here on the floor. But from here, the closer the knee is toward the chest is the easier it's going to be. So feel free to gauge that however you need. You can even use your hands as helpers, do a little interlace of the fingers and hold it there. Or you can kind of just let it surrender to gravity and do that. Let's pay attention to this right foot that's up in outer space. Let's flex those toes. So like we're standing on the wall to the side of us. So we're still getting that benefit. From here, we're going to find a forward fold if you're in a chair. Those of you who are on the ground, look up toward your legs for a moment. And what we're going to do is thread our right arm through that hole that we created with our number 4 with our legs here, and then just interlace the fingers behind the back of that left thigh. What you'll be doing then is just simply bringing that left foot off of the ground and hugging the knees in toward the chest. Now we're going to do basically the same thing as that in our chair. So we're going to do the same little move. So once again, I'm bringing my right hand through and I'm interlacing my fingers right here behind the back of my left thigh. I'm going to use my right elbow to help try to keep that hip open a little bit. I'm going to keep my shoulders on my back so my shoulder blades are going toward one another. And then I'm just going to give a tiny fold forward. You can see that I barely moved even. So we only want a tiny bit because of that tension. So just leaning your torso forward over that leg. Breathing here. We hold so much tension in our hips. So just let some of that release. 2 more breaths. Everybody, whether in the mat or the chair, go ahead and release that grip on your hands. Release that right foot down to the ground. Go ahead and stamp out the feet just a little bit. Move the legs, get some energy moving. And then same thing on the opposite side. So this time left foot crosses over, or left ankle crosses over the right knee rather. So same thing, opposite side here. So get yourself comfortable. Notice that there may be a difference from side to side within your body. Again, just acknowledging that, knowing that that's fine, that is totally normal. And maybe you have to just not go as far into the pose on this side. So finding your version here, if you're on your mat or if you are in the chair, we're all going to do this together. Let's bring our left hand down through that hole that we created. Interlace your fingers behind the back of the right thigh this time. Those of you on the ground can let that foot lift off of the ground and bring your knees toward your chest while keeping that elbow on the left side kind of as a pressure point to keep that hip open. So take that inhale, and then we're going to exhale and fold. So you can see again, very little movement that comes out of this, but that little bit does a lot. So just give yourself that opportunity to experience that pose. And again, really to experience yoga, because the poses that we don't want to do the most are the ones that are the ones we need the most. So feel free to let go of any tension in that hip. 2 more big breaths. Then release the hands, release the feet back down, uncross that leg. Go ahead and pedal out the feet here, stomp them on the ground a little bit, maybe straightening each leg, giving yourself a little rest. And then we're going to come back into our relaxation pose, our Shavasana, which means literally resting. So at the end of every yoga class, if this is one of your firsts, they have a meditation at the end called Shavasana. And Shavasana is simply being in the most comfortable state that you can be in at that moment. So those of you who are on the ground, feel free to just lay down. You can keep your knees bent with your feet on the ground if you wish. You can extend your legs long and just simply lay there and let your arms come to your sides and just totally surrender into the ground and into your mat. If you are in your chair, scoot yourself back so the back of your body is up against the seat once more. So finding whichever version of this is best. Either bring your gaze down toward the floor, or I encourage you to close your eyes. Your choice. We're going to bring our breathing back to normal here. So as we move this little bit, our heart rate might have gone up just a smidge. And just come back to that calmness, that quiet, something we don't get often. But just simply sitting with ourselves or laying down with ourselves in our own bodies. Let any frustration, any tension, any negative thoughts, just let them on go. Wherever you're at, again, doing that quick scan all the way from the top of the head down to the toes. Release any tension you find. May it be in the jaw and the shoulders and the lower back. Maybe we're holding our feet in a weird position. Just making those tiny corrections. And of course, just to end our class here, in yoga, it takes a lot of strength to do certain poses, certain things that you may have to hold that may not be super comfortable, which we kind of got into a little bit today. But what did we do? We persevered. We didn't say, nah, I don't want to do that. We said, hey, I'll give this a try. I have that strength in me. I can give this a try. So if that was you today in class, feel free to give yourself a slight smile to your face and thank yourself for persevering. Because this may be something new to you, something a little unfamiliar. and sharing two last thoughts as we're in this stillness, as we're in this meditation, this Shavasana. F. Scott Fitzgerald had said, "For what it's worth, it's never too late to be whoever you want to be." I hope you live a life you're proud of. And if you find that you're not, I hope you have the strength to start over. So acknowledging again, we have this ability to start fresh every single day. We're never going to experience the same moment again. So keeping our mind right where we are right now, where you have no responsibilities except sitting here and listening to my voice. So let go of anything extra, any baggage. If there's anything that you've been working on letting go of, maybe bring that to mind and let that go too for the time being. Know that it can take up space in your mind another time if it needs, but it's not necessary right now. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, which I thought was a huge, huge concept as far as strength and letting go is concerned. Again, unknown author, but they said, if it is out of your hands, it deserves freedom from your mind too. So what I encourage all of you to do while we're in this sleepy, meditative, comfortable state is really take that to heart. That we don't need to relive events that are from our past. We already passed that moment. It doesn't mean that they never happened. It doesn't mean that your struggle was for nothing, because that's never the case. But knowing when you can let go from your heart, from your mind, that you don't have to have a vice grip on your past, because we want to let go of the past to move forward. So from this place of stillness, this place of quiet, whether you're sitting or laying, make some small movements with your fingers and toes. Move your wrists and ankles. Maybe even move the shoulders around. Nod the head yes and no. And then we're going to take one more big stretch with the arms. So bring them out near to a T by your sides. Bring them up over top of the head. Bring your palms to touch one another, sealing in this awesome energy we just created here. And bring it down to your heart, the center of love, the center of gratitude. I want to thank each and every one of you for practicing with me today. Hopefully you can find some solace in my words, some relaxation from the movements that we've done, and just be able to tackle the rest of our day, the rest of our week in peace. So we're going to end our class with the word that means the light in me sees and honors the light in you, and that we are all one, which is the word namaste. So you can either say that in your own heads, or you can say it out loud if you wish. But let's regardless bow forward with our chin toward our chest, close the eyes, and either say or think Namaste. Thank you very, very much, everyone who joined me. Again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to let Sarah know. She'll be able to reach out to me if need be. Otherwise, thank you again so much for practicing with me, and I will see you again next week.